How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Falcons Media Corner back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to yet another movie review, AK After I Saw review video for today. For this AK After I Saw review video for today, it's going to be my review on the film that was released this year for 2022, which this was released theatrically in the US, but this one unfortunately was not released theatrically in the UK. This ended up being released at home. And I didn't watch this on opening day at home because I wanted to see some other things at the time when this was released. But I did manage to watch this film. I did manage to watch this film last month, but just not on release day. And I did watch this film alongside my girlfriend last month. And I was going to review this film straight away after I saw the movie with her. But I was reviewing some other things around the time, like some new releases I did see this year, as well as some reviews I was catching up on from last year. But since I have nothing else really planned for today, I decided to give you guys my honest opinion on this movie that I just watched last month with my girlfriend. So today's review is going to be my review on the 2022 computer animated martial arts family comedy film, and that movie is Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. This is directed by Rob Minkoff, Chris Bailey, and Mark Koetsier, and tells the story of a dog named Hank, voiced by Cera, who is a likable dog, although in a small town full of other dogs, he doesn't get much respect because he often gets bullied and he gets often beaten up by some tough dogs. And what happens to him later on in the movie is that he comes across this small village known as Kukumachu, which, yeah, it's actually the name of the village in this movie. And this village is full of cats. And once Hank enters this village full of cats, the cats start to basically mistreat him, and they just really want to get rid of him since there's no other dogs in this village. And the reason why Hank is in the village is that he wants to become a samurai, so he can basically tough himself up if he was about to get beaten up by some tough dogs again. So he finds this cat named Jimbo, voiced by Samuel L. Jackson, who used to be a samurai all those years ago, but he's no longer a samurai anymore. He doesn't do that anymore because he's now an alcoholic cat who often drinks catnip. And so Hank tries to basically convince Jimbo to basically help him become a good samurai, because Hank is not really good at being a samurai because he's really a clumsy dog. So, of course, Jimbo, trains Hank to become a good samurai. And meanwhile, we see the villain of this movie named Ikachu, voiced by Ricky Gervais, who is this, like, sort of evil emperor cat. Basically, his evil plan is, of course, that he wants to destroy the whole village of Kukumachu, which is full of innocent cats, so he basically can rule the world or something like that. And so it's basically up to Hank to basically use his samurai skills, and hopefully he can use them very well to go up against this evil cat before he destroys the whole village of Kukumachu. So that's pretty much the story of Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank. Now, I did not know what to expect from this movie. I wasn't, like, really excited for this movie because, well, before I get into that, I've heard this movie I heard brief things about this movie way back in 2017 when this movie was originally going to come out in that year, because they did film it way back then before this was actually released this year. Like, it was going to be released some other, like, it was at first going to be released in 2017, but then it got rescheduled numerous times because of change when this movie got moved to different studios. Like, this film was once I thought it was going to be made by Sony, and then it moved to Paramount, and then this film was delayed again because of like what was going on with the world right now since 2020, which you probably already know what it is, but I'm not going to say because I don't want to repeat myself. In every video I do that for any review for a movie that's been delayed. And this film was kind of, and I've heard this film was changed from what it was going to be like for what the characters looked like back then, and then it got changed to what we have right now, which I didn't even notice that until I did a bit of research and all that. And if you want to know if you want to see what the original film was going to be like, you can do a bit of research of the history about this movie. And this film was originally called Blazing Samurai, since this film is loosely based on one of Mel Brooks' iconic comedies, Blazing Saddles, which I'd never watched before, but I did watch it for the first time this year before I saw this movie. And after the first time I saw that movie, I had a fun time with it. I thought that movie was absolutely hilarious, and it's just one of the funniest Western comedies I've ever seen, and one of my favorite Mel Brooks comedies. And the funny thing is that Mel Brooks is actually in this movie, which that's pretty interesting. And so, even before I saw the trailer for this film, I was surprised the film's title was changed, because again, it was originally called Blazing Samurai, but then it got changed to what the title of this film is right now called, Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank, which that was kind of strange to me. But when I saw the trailer for this movie, they didn't really impress me that much. They didn't look that good to me, because to me, I thought this film was going to be like another generic, terrible animated film from the way it looked and all that. But I was surprised with the voice cast you've got in this film. You've got Cera, Samuel L. Jackson, Ricky Gervais, George Takei, Michelle Yeoh, and a whole bunch of other talented people who are in this movie. And once the reviews dropped by, I was like, I'll give this a go, since I've heard what people have been saying about this movie. Even though from what the reviews, what people have been saying about this film was met with mixed receptions. Like it was met with mixed reactions from various other people, from various different people. Like some people were either enjoying this film, some were not really appreciating this film, and some were just in the middle of this. But once after I watched the film with my girlfriend, I surprisingly did not hate this film, because I went in with low expectations, thinking this was going to be terrible. But after watching this, I thought this movie was just decent for myself here. But obviously, I wouldn't say this is one of the best animated films of this year. Like the other animated films of this year that I really loved. This one was just surprisingly a decent, fine animated film, because I went in with low expectations, thinking this was going to be terrible because of the trailers, because the trailers didn't even look that good to me. But once the reviews dropped by, I decided to give this a chance. I did watch this with my girlfriend, and after we both watched it, I just thought it was surprisingly decent. But as for my girlfriend herself, after she watched the film, she thought the film was fine, and it wasn't really a kind of cup of tea that she told me after she watched the film. But the things I did like in this film was the animation. I thought the animation was pretty nice, and it's pretty colorful for a cartoony samurai film like this one. For like the character designs on the cats and dogs in this film, especially for like the textures on them, like the details on them, like the textures on them, like the fur and the clothing and all that, which I thought that was pretty nice, as well as like the sets, the action scenes and the visual gags, which all of that was pretty nice and colorful. And the voice work in the film from an all-star voice cast such as Cera, Samuel L. Jackson, Ricky Gervais, George Takei, and Michelle Yeoh, I thought they were all pretty solid in the film. And as for jokes and humor in this film, it's kind of a mixture in a way for me, because there was some times where some humorous moments were pretty funny to me, for like some slapstick. Like this film has different combinations of gags in this film, like different kind of combinations of different gags in this film. Like there are some slapstick jokes and slapstick gags in the film, which some did have some chuckles for me, but some obviously didn't. And there is a butt joke in the film where Hank gets stuck in this huge sumo cat's butt in the film, which was pretty odd. But for seeing that, it didn't want to make me pull my hair while I was watching it, because for seeing all the jokes and the humor in this film that didn't really land for me, didn't want to make me pull my hair out, and it didn't make me angry. And I was like, oh, I've seen this 1,000 times, and all that. I was getting a bit angry and all that. When I saw that, I was just like, okay, I've seen this before. Let's just move on. And there is a bit of references to Blazing Saddles, like for some lines of dialogue. Even though for some lines of dialogue, which they did use from Blazing Saddles, they had to replace some of the words in this film, since this is a children's film. Because in Blazing Saddles, some lines of dialogue, some of them did have racist lines to it. But so for when they had that into this film, they obviously, like I said, they had to replace some of the words in this film. And once I heard some of the lines of dialogue, some in this movie, some of them did land for me, while some didn't really land for me. They weren't even for the ones that didn't really land for me. They didn't make me a bit like go like ugh, and all that. I was just like, okay, I already get the joke and all that. And there is some toilet jokes in this film, like there's a fart joke in this film, which obviously I knew there was going to be a fart joke in this movie, since Blazing Saddles does have a memorable fart joke in that film, and for seeing that in that film, it was really funny. But for this film, I wouldn't say it was as funny like Blazing Saddles did in a way. It did have a little chuckle for me, but not as like very, very funny like Blazing Saddles did. And there's even a toilet joke in the film where it involves a huge toilet, and they call it Super Bowl, which I'm not joking, that's actually a joke in this film, which we get to see that towards the final act of the film, when we do see Hank and Ikachu go head to head with each other in this movie. And as for its story, it's pretty much really a copy and paste version of Blazing Saddles, except it's not set in a Western world, because this is set in the samurai world, filled with cats and dogs doing samurai. And as for its main story, it just pretty much felt really generic, really, and kind of forgettable in a way, really, for myself. But in the end, guys, Paws with Fury, The Legend of Hank, it was surprisingly not bad of a movie, actually. Because again, I went with low expectations, thinking it was going to be terrible, because the trailer, again, didn't even look that good. And after I watched it again, it was surprisingly decent. Like I said, the animation's pretty nice, and it's pretty colorful. The voice work were pretty solid. It has it has a few humorous moments for me, while some didn't really land to me. And for its story, in general, it was just pretty much generic and forgettable. And as for its concept, it's pretty much really copy and paste. But if you're a fan of Blazing Saddles, or if you're a fan of like animated films set in China like this one, or if you're a fan of like the voice cast, you may have a you may have a good time with this one. I can see children have a really good time with this one because this movie is mostly aimed towards young children. But as for adults, they may either enjoy this one, while some I can see some may either turn off their brains and just immediately fall asleep during the film during this whole film. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. I'm going to give Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank 3 out of 5. Like I said, I went in with low expectations thinking this was going to be absolutely terrible. But once I saw the film, I surprisingly had a decent time with this one, like I said. There were some things I did appreciate in this film, while there were some other things in this movie that did not really make me appreciate within this movie. And again, I wouldn't say this is one of the best animated films this year, and definitely not one of the worst this year. So, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching for my AK After I Saw review on Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. And let me know what you think of this movie, if you've just recently seen this film, if you've already seen this film. Did you personally enjoy this one, or did you not really appreciate this one? So again, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews, and as always, this has been Foggins Media Corner signing off.